So we're live and direct from Farm Fitness, so excuse the sounds of barbells in the background. We've just had a day of shooting some cool fitness content. How are you feeling?
I feel really great, mate. Actually, what I really love is that genuinely the sound of bars are just people, punters coming in and training, and I absolutely love that. I think that's so cool how we're just doing that.
It's raw.
Yeah, it is, it's raw. Yeah. But this whole day's been raw, man.
Yeah.
It's been great. Like, just been training next to people who've literally taken time out of their day just to come and lift heavy stuff and get on a watt like, but I've loved it, mate.
What does fitness mean to you?
Fitness, well, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Where, you know, I think it means different things for everyone, really. But for me, I think it's changed as I've got older. So from when I was early 20s, I think we were talking about the fact that when you're early 20s, you want to be ripped, you want to be jacked, and you know, fitness doesn't sort of come into it because you ain't fit.
It's fitting into this t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It's fitting into those. It's one of them. And then it changed. I think the moment I sort of like became sort of 30 onwards, it became something else, and I wasn't that bothered about getting stacked. I think I said to you, what I want is to be in okay shape but healthy. Yeah. Because I'm a busy guy, I don't have all that much time to do more than one activity a day. So I can do an hour of something, but that's the gym or that's going for a run or whatever it is. Like, I want to be able to just be an all-rounder and just be really happy and confident in myself. That's what I want in a very long-winded way.
No, it's great. What do those days look like for you now, like in the gym? Like, what does your training look like?
It's changed a lot. So as I said at the start, it was just, I was actually saying this to you earlier as well, where...
By the way, you're going to get a lot of... We were saying this earlier, because we're two known chatterboxes.
We've been talking for about 2 hours now of just like, basically everything I'm about to say now. So I'm going to stop saying that. But yeah, I started upper body first because I was mad skinny. And I think you probably know the build, right? Because I think we got quite similar builds where maybe when you were younger, were you quite skinny when you were younger?
The running joke would be that if I turned sideways, I'd disappear.
Yeah.
Slip down cracks.
They called me snake hips. Yeah. And so I was always trying to become a certain weight and a certain build that was like, you know, you'd have to eat a lot and stuff like that. And so I was just trying to lift really heavy weight on the top half. I never focused on the legs. I never focused on my cardio or anything like that. And I did it the wrong way around. And it's just interesting now that my fitness days completely have switched now. Only recently I've started pretty much only doing legs and cardio and really not doing much of the weights and stuff. And it's interesting how your mindset completely changes. I want to stretch now. I want to do like Pilates, as weird as that sounds. I never, 5 years ago, would never have cared. I just wanted to look good. And now I want to feel good. And so, yeah, I've completely changed it. I stretch, I do Stairmasters, I run, I do intervals, I do legs, I do, as you've just seen, like a very light barbell squat. So yeah, it's changed a lot for me. Yeah,
we were talking earlier, I'm going to stop saying we were talking earlier. We were saying earlier that you kind of get to a certain point where you're thinking like, how does what I'm doing in the gym transfer into the rest of my life, right? And if you're in the gym 3-4 times a week, you know, training chest and arms, and then you realise, but I still get out of breath when I walk up a flight of stairs. It makes you think like, what's the return on my investment here,
This is the point, mate. Isn't it true that literally you judge your fitness on whether you can walk up the stairs?
That's the litmus test.
Mate, when I'm at work, which I'm going after this, I'm going to go to my workplace, the radio station I work with. It's got this massive spiral staircase, goes all the way to the top. Mate, and my studio's at the very, very top. When I get to the top, I'm gassed. And it's like, this is mad. I go to the gym like 3 times a week. But, you know, if I go and did an actual oblique test or something like that, I would be really unfit. And that really worries me now. And I never used to be bothered. But now it really gets to me. And so I've wanted to completely switch my training round. And I've sort of started from the bottom. You sort of caught me on the first 6 months of it, really.
Well, let's come back in a year.
Yeah.
we can.
I'd love to.
We can do this whilst walking up a flight of stairs at that point as well.
Well, we'll have this interview whilst on a run.
That will be the test.
Yeah, mate, I would love that though. I've loved every single second of today, you know. I think that God, you're so knowledgeable. I mean, not to blow smoke up you, mate, but you're so knowledgeable. The things that we've been talking about, and the different forms of training. We even spoke about jiu-jitsu for a little bit, boxing. We've spoken about like loads of different ways to get in shape, for loads of meditation being one of them, like working out for your mind. I love the idea of lifestyle fitness. I love it. It's finding the time for it is quite hard, but like there is something that even just being here with all of these like-minded people who are just really up for just bettering themselves. I have a real like love for that, by the way, of people who are here just trying to better themselves, be the best version of themselves, because I think that spills into life.
Yes,
I think a lot
100%.
of it is you see people here, they don't have to be here, and they're putting, I know it sounds, God, this sounds so TikTok-y, but like it's true. When people come in here and they want to just do the best they possibly can, I think that does spill into life outside as well. And I feel like you become a bit more, this is odd, but a bit more of an adult when you take it upon yourself to go and do those things. And I love, it's been really cool being around here in the middle of nowhere, which we kind of are, mate, in this beautiful space. And people have been turning up every day to get it done. It's awesome.
Yeah. There's a moment when you realise, like, oh, I have to parent myself here.
Yeah.
Like, looking after my body is part of, like, parenting.
No one's going to do it for you.
No one's going to do it.
That's the thing,
No
mate.
one's going to make you.
No one's going to make
either.
you.
Yeah.
Dude, this is the thing with my running, right? Like, my running. I do 5K, and I try and do it as fast as I can. I try and beat my PB and whatever.
You're on a running journey.
I'm on a running journey. I say I'm on a running era.
Running era, yeah.
But seriously though, it's, I will sit there at home and be like, do you know what? I think I'm coming down with something. And I'm like, and genuinely I'll sit there and be like, it's probably best I don't today, so I'm ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And then actually what that really is that's your mind being like, my mind being like, dude, you're not going to do it. You have to parent yourself. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to carry you there. And it's a daily battle. And I think I'm quite weak like that. And so it's even like just for the 6 months, been really trying to coach myself mentally. It's been a great journey. I really am loving it.
Do you think you've reached a point, and I guess we kind of alluded to this previously, where you I don't know if it's age or whether it's just experience or whatever it is, where maybe you start looking at, maybe you know what you want out of life a little bit more, so then you can say, this is what I want out of my training. Yeah. Whereas potentially when you're a younger guy, maybe the things you want out of life can be achieved by just having big arms.
You're so right. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, when we're talking now, I'm sort of like at the start of the journey that I want to be on for the rest of my life. Right. Which is fascinating because, well, I find it fascinating.
And it's a big statement to make as well.
Yeah, because, mate, I've been going to the gym quite a bit. I think I'm in all right shape if you shape it from the hips up. Like, I think
Which we are.
Yeah, exactly. We're sat at the table, which is great. But, I've been going to the gym for, going on sort of like 8 years, but like hard as well. Like, when I was telling you earlier, I'm small and slight. There was one point where I was like lifting like 40 plus on a bench press, which by the way isn't healthy for me because, I wasn't doing it.
You mean dumbbells?
Dumbbell bench press, which isn't healthy for me. I was slinging it up. I wasn't getting the right form and things were starting to hurt and stuff like that. But, I'd come out and I'd be like, God, and I was, to be fair, like, upper body, like quite big for my build, but now it's completely turned on its head 180. And as you say, like, I want to tailor my training now for actual things that are going to help me in life. Like, I don't want to be 80 years old and not be able to touch my toes. Yeah. Like, I want to be able to walk up the stairs and I want to be able to, like, I don't know, play in the park with my grandkids and not be like, ah. Do you know? And I want to be able to be physical for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah. I always think it's picking the capacities that you want to have forever. Yeah. And then just work on those now. Like,
exactly.
Now's the time to start working on those.
And you're the extremities of that, though, to be fair. Some of the things I've heard you say over the course of this period, 100 muscle-ups in 12 minutes.
Well,
what?
That's what I want to be doing forever. That's the hill I want to die on. If you're enjoying this content, you can watch or listen ad-free on the Men's Health app by joining the Men's Health Squad today. Head over to hearstmagazines.co.uk/mh-mag. Once you're in the squad, you'll also have access to tons of exclusive content, including interviews, ad-free videos, and our world-class training platform, which features dozens of training plans to suit every level and any goal. You openly talk about your ADHD diagnosis and have done over the last few years. What effects did having that diagnosis have on your life?
Do you know what? A massive. I didn't. This is weird, but I didn't think it'd have that big an effect on me because I kind of knew I had it. I think you can kind of self-diagnose yourself a little bit, and you know, I would advise anyone just to go off that. You should absolutely go and get, you know, the professional tests and stuff if you think you have something like that, or if you think you're neurodiverse. But I kind of knew, and everyone would tell me, and so I was like, do you know what? It's just, you know, I'm going to find out, and I'm going to find out. Yeah. But the moment I got told, it's the weirdest thing, man. It's like a weight being lifted off your shoulders. You have no idea why. I suppose a bit of it is because, like, you know, especially a later in life diagnosis where you're just like, you know, at school, you're told you're not listening, or you're distracted a lot, and, you know, you're distracting others and stuff like that. When actually, you know, if you would look to my report cards, bro, they were mental. Like, they were mad. The report cards were all the exact same thing, year on year on year on year on year. Nice guy needs to apply himself more. Nice guy permanently distracted. It was like, how no one spotted it, I have no idea. But then the moment I got diagnosed with it, I was like, do you know what? It really has changed my life, from my relationship to the way I view doing admin work to the way I view having a conversation like this. For example, you probably noticed from when we're talking, but sometimes I jump in on people's conversations and it's like, let the other dude speak. Do you know what I mean? Because I get excited to say something. And so you're in something, I go, blah, 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 and it's like, you haven't even finished your sentence. Etiquette, courtesy, loads of little things that have massively changed the way I live my life.
So it's just kind of having that awareness of knowing, like, actually, this is what I do, and it's not because I'm rude or distracted or anything like that. This is part of my chemistry.
And a huge part of that, actually, mate, is owning it, but not hiding behind it. And this is, I can only speak for myself, but owning it and not hiding behind it is a big, big thing for me, because, like, I can forgive myself for, like, doing things that other people might see as rude, right? And I'm like, well, at least I know now that it's like, I'm not a beep, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, probably not. So at least I know I'm not a nasty bloke, right? So I'm like, there's actually something in my brain that, like, is making me struggle to pay attention to what my girlfriend's saying to me, or, you know, to cut in on whatever you're saying and stuff like that. Yeah. But then again, you know, always, I think, try and be the best version of yourself, like the people in this gym are doing, you know? Always try and sit there and you know, be as polite as you possibly can to the person. You know, you don't hide behind it, I don't think, is what I'm trying to do with myself.
It's almost like you're now not adding a layer of, like, shame and beating yourself up over being like, oh, why am I like this? And you're like, well, because of this.
Well, and also it's just like trying to better yourself whilst knowing you have it. And also, I'm under no illusions. Like, look, ADHD, it can affect so many people's lives, but I'm incredibly lucky. I don't think that I'm sort of, like, really unlucky. I don't think that, you know, I've had a worse start in life or anything like that. I actually see it as a bit of superpower a lot of the time. But yeah, I think it's just something I'm just so glad I'm now aware that I've got something. And now I go to therapy for it and stuff like that. And the lovely lady, she tells me how to cope with certain things and stuff, and eye contact and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's changed my life, mate. Absolutely changed my life. Do you know what's a really interesting thing to do with the gym? Is I will sometimes train and get tired, but as in, like, sleep tired, not like tired out, sleep tired. And I think quite a big part of that could be attributed to ADHD, because most other people's uppers would be my downer.
Yeah, so it's not stimulating you.
It's not, exactly, yeah. So basically, stimulants make me go down. So if I were to drink a coffee, I don't get, like, ready for the day. I go, God, I'm exhausted. Genuinely, it like does the opposite thing to me. And sometimes when I work out, it's great if I'm like, I need to, like, sort of, like, zen out. I'll be like, I'll go to the gym. Yeah. Because it really helps.
That's interesting. How does your fitness regime, does it have any impact on your ADHD, or vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Massively, like I just said, where I sometimes come here to actually, we were talking about meditation earlier, and it's kind of like that for me. It's a place that I can focus on one thing. Yeah. And I can, like, really go, and each exercise is different. You only focus, other than the split squat, you can really focus on, like, just the one thing that you're doing. And it really allows my brain to center. And I don't get that from many things at all.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you find that your ADHD has affected the type of work you want to do in the gym at all?
Absolutely, mate. Again, weirdly, I feel like the cardio stuff for me now is massive, and I don't know whether that's because I feel like, as I said, again, the meditation vibe and stuff, but it makes me, I feel so much more zoned in when I now do things that push me to a limit, where weight training, I don't think, does push me to that same limit.
Yeah. Or one continuous kind of, like where you can have that flow state where it's
Flow
not-
state, that's exactly what you were saying. Yeah, flow state. I really now want to achieve a flow state. And that's something that I'm really seeing more and more as I'm sort of learning to deal with this, like not deal with it, but live with the ADHD stuff.
Yeah, as you say, you have this awareness now, so you can say like, oh, like this is because of this, so maybe I can manipulate this in this way.
Mate, do you know what? It's a lot of it, I think, is actually like you manipulate stuff in all things of your life. So for example, the way I said ADHD is like a superpower, I genuinely believe it. God, the work I do, the job that I do, I absolutely adore. And I think the ADHD helps that. I'm so excited, but it's because I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love the job. So ADHD is a really interesting thing where if you enjoy the thing you do, then it's a superpower because it throws you with the excitement and the energy and sole focus, hyper focus into something that you like. Whereas if you don't like something, you are terrible at it. It's very hard to sail through something. Well, that's exactly certainly what I found. So I'm incredibly lucky, but it also is the same with my fitness. I enjoy things and I get focused like hell on it. And I'm literally like, this is amazing, let's crack on. And it's a great, great feeling. And it's one that I've only really sort of awakened over the past year and a bit.
How do you deal with the things that you don't enjoy doing so
Mate.
much?
I've got so many little things that it just seems stupid, but I've got a little clock that I like turn. So it's just this little clock that's just so simple. It's just like a little red thing that you turn around and it's just a little timer. I've got little spreadsheets that I write things down on, but actually physically write things, not on my phone. I had to write them on the sheet. It's a big old sheet. I've got fidget toys that I use. What else do I do? I tap sometimes. Tapping, you probably know about tapping, don't you?
Yeah.
You like,
Yeah,
do
like
that.
the somatic. Yeah, you go for a
Sometimes
sequence.
do that
yeah.
quite a bit. So there's loads of little things that I do, but again, I've learned that through sort of like specific neurodiverse like therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, loads of little things help me get through stuff that I wouldn't normally enjoy. But then again, God, take away the ADHD. I think a lot of people get that.
Yeah.
Don't a lot of people just...
Of course, yeah.
This is the thing where you like sit there and you go, well, do you know what? Like, no one in the world likes paying a bill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I just
yeah.
dislike it probably more, or not even dislike it, I just struggle paying it maybe more than other people because I get distracted. But everyone hates it. No one likes sitting down doing admin, right? Actually, my girlfriend loves it, but you know, she used to be. She's
handy for you.
She's working the government. You know, she used to literally do typing all the time. But a lot of people, you know, don't enjoy it, and that's why I think coming to a place like this, you know, getting yourself into a gym, getting yourself into a routine, doing the ice baths we were talking about, these things that push you out your comfort zone that you don't want to do, specifically, I can only speak for myself, but for my ADHD and neurodiversity, to know that I can, I think is like half the battle. And that sounds really weird, and it's like to know that I can pay a bill, but like to know that I can put my mind to something that actually my mind's telling me to go over here or telling me to go over there, because that's what it does. Like my brain, when I go, right, I'm gonna sit down and write this for half an hour, my brain goes, but before I do that, my cat's looking so fluffy, I just want to pick it up and stroke it. And then I'm like, oh, my girlfriend's over there, I'm going to say something to her, it might annoy her for a second. Oh, I'm going to call Pete, my best mate. And then before you know it, it's 3 hours down the line, you haven't done a thing, and you're like, oh my God, I forgot what I was even meant to be doing. Whereas now, when you go, I'm going to sit down and do that, whilst you've seen your cat, you go, I've had this struggle before, when there was a freezing cold ice bath in front of me, and I was stood there going, I don't want to do that, but I did it. So if you just write 3 things, you're in, you started.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like for me, I think it's for everyone in life, but just specifically for me in the way that I handle my ADHD, that definitely this kind of stuff massively helps me.
Yeah, it's that training your brain or training yourself to do something when there are other better options. And the more you can do that, it really is like a muscle, right? You train that do it or don't do it pathway. And then you also, as you said, you're building that body of evidence and confidence in yourself to be like, actually, I know I do not need to stroke the cat right now, because if I can get in an ice bath in the morning, and it seems like weird and almost like tangential and very disconnected. Like, how are those two things connected? But they are, and I think everyone, like you say, everyone experiences this in their everyday life, right? The flip side of imagination. I guess one thing I say to people a lot is like, boredom is imagination gone wild.
Yeah.
Boredom or distraction and boredom and frustration around a task. Are you going to do the task and your mind going, I'd rather be anywhere else but here right now, and here are my options. And if you know, particularly obviously for neurodivergent people as well, if you are then like quickly wrapped up into one of those other options, but by doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, when there are lots of other options, you really are strengthening that muscle, aren't you, of coming back to what do I want to be doing right now?
How great is that you can affect things in your head?
Yeah. And I don't think enough people, no one tells people this. Right?
Yeah.
No one ever sits down and says, by the way you think is not set in stone.
But it's not set in stone. Exactly. But that's the thing. It's not set in stone. Like, that's what I mean about not wanting to hide behind something.
Yeah.
Like, you can always try and be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't try.
Yeah.
Like, my brain is wired differently than someone else's, right? And I do struggle more factually to do certain tasks than other people do, right? But that doesn't stop that shouldn't stop me from at least trying to battle that.
Yeah.
And be like, hey man, like, I'm gonna try it. Well, this is only me, but like, you know, I'm gonna try and do things that make me not feel as distracted if I can, you know? And like, yeah, and I just feel like that's what I mean by not wanting just to sort of like be like, well, this is it now.
Yeah.
Joe, this is just me. I think like, why not just try and be you with ADHD whilst also, you know, trying to sort of like be the best version of yourself you can possibly be.
Yeah, which is, I guess, is a very good reason to go and get that diagnosis, right? So that then you are aware of it and you can look at the resources, or as you can say, instead of just being like, well, I guess this is me, you can say, well, I guess this is me because of this. What can we do about it? If you're enjoying this content, you can watch or listen ad-free on the Men's Health app by joining the Men's Health Squad today. Head over to hearstmagazines.co.uk/mh-mag. Once you're in the squad, you'll also have access to tons of exclusive content, including interviews, ad-free videos, and our world-class training platform, which features dozens of training plans to suit every level and any goal.
Well, mate, do you know what a really good example I think is relationships, right? So, like, for example, my girlfriend, she's not neurodiverse, so she's telling me a story, and bro, I'm distracted in a minute. I'm literally just like, oh no, I'm looking at the floor, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. But she's just listened to my entire day. Bless her. She's literally listened to my entire day. She asked me questions. She's like been so communicative, and I know she doesn't care. But like, well, she probably does care, but like, she's like being...
This is an act of service.
She's like, how did your day go?
Yeah.
She doesn't necessarily care, but she's asked me how my day is. So like, the least I can do is sit there and be like, well, how's your day been, right? And so, you know, yes, I could sit there realistically and be like, well, I got ADHD, so you're gonna have to accept that you just have to accept that I'm not going to pay attention.
Sorry, this is my ADHD.
It's my ADHD, exactly.
Yeah.
And but the problem with that is, as much as she has to understand that I have something that makes me different than her, I also have to understand that she has certain needs and wants that I can at least try and do. And I think that's a big part of it. I think it's the best example I have of sort of dealing with any sort of neurodiversity that I have in life. Just, although you might be different, you know, you can still affect, you can't just sit there and be like, well, this is it now, so haha. Yeah. I have a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my note.
Read it and weep.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I think people can't have failed to notice about you in the jungle, but anyone that knows you or follows you in real life will have no doubt picked up on this, is that I think you are a prime example and a real role model for how important male friendships are.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I mean, this is something, I'm historically terrible at this. I'm historically terrible at this. I have brothers who I love. We would never tell each other how, and we live in each other's pockets. We are best friends. Yeah. I don't think any of us could really pick up the phone and be like, hey man, I'm having a bad day. You know, honestly, just hands up. How important do you think male friendships are?
Mate, they're everything. Everything, mate. You're like my mate Pete, my best mate Pete.
My best
My
mate.
best
Yeah.
mate, Pete. Yeah, he won't agree, but he's old school, like an old school geezer, and he won't tell anyone about how he feels about. Like, I have to flipping suck it out of him. I've got like a vampire. I'd be like, no, you're having a bad. I can feel it. I can see it on you. Like, what's up? And he'd be like, no, nothing, mate. No, nothing I can't handle. Nothing I can't deal with. I'm like, well, it's not really the point. I'm not saying you can't deal with it. I'm saying don't have to deal with it alone. And I think I'm more of a modern guy, whereas like I'm a moaner.
I let it all out.
Yeah, I do know, mate. I let
Everyone
the floodgates
knows, yeah.
open, man, and it feels great. It feels great, and I'm very lucky that I'm surrounded by strong males, like I am, and I think I've actually done that myself. I think I've put myself around strong male characters. Tony Bellew in The Jungle, Marvin Humes in The Jungle as well. Very strong guys, like very alpha dog dudes. And alpha, I don't think alpha's a bad word, by the way. You know, a lot of people like go, oh, alpha male, bad. I don't think you have to be a bad alpha male.
There's an element of like, what's it, you know, toxicity.
Yeah, no,
it?
but they're not.
yeah.
They are just old school,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's a problem with that at all.
I think it depends how you relate to it and how you, obviously your actions in the world.
Mate,
off
but
the
they're the
back of it,
nicest
but-
guys.
Yeah, precisely.
Like, they're the
yeah.
loveliest blokes.
Yeah.
And Tony, God, like if I was in trouble and I picked up the phone and went, mate, I'm having a bad day, but like, he lives in Liverpool, he'd be like, I'll be in London in a day. He'd be like, I'll be there. But also it's really nice to be surrounded by these guys who are also, I think, are different to you. I think it's great to be surrounded by people who have different mentalities to you. And I think I've surrounded myself with a lot of people who have Pete, Tony, Marvin, they all have like very different outlooks on life, I think, than I do. And I think it's awesome when you come together because it's like yin and yang. We all work together so well when we are together. And yeah, I have this thing with a mate of mine where if I'm ever having a bad day, I'll call him up and be like, mate, Nando's on me. And he knows I'm about to go and sit down and tell him I've had a tough one, right? And he's literally like, okay, cool. And he'll come there. And basically the deal is I pay, he listens. It's like therapy, mate.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. In a very long-winded way, I think male friendships are so, so important. You'll never get anything like it. The camaraderie. It's like team sport, man. Like there's something in it.
And we don't have those by default in our adult lives, right? So, you might play sport growing up, you might be members of clubs and
And then
organisations.
you stop, don't
and
you?
you stop,
Yeah.
and you have your life, and those interactions sort of cease happening and I think some people don't really even realise that's an element that's
until it's
missing
gone
out of their life.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to actively put it back in.
Yeah.
And I think you said something so important there, that thing like, I just phoned and say, we're going for a Nando's. And I think a lot of men, maybe this is something you've experienced, or maybe you know people who have, they feel as though they've got to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I need to come around and tell you all of my problems. But actually, and that's a tough call to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just, hey, do you want to come to the gym? Hey, you want to work out? Hey, do you want to go get something to eat? That's the inroad, isn't it?
That's the in,
Not the...
Mate, you don't always have to, I don't think. Look, everyone has their own different ways, but I don't think you have to be like, hey, I'm struggling today, can we talk about it? It's like, hey, man, if you know your friend well enough, then it's just like, hey, let's go to the gym together.
Yes. Yeah.
And they know. You know, they know, everyone knows, right? And then you start talking. And I think it's so, I just think it's so important for guys to have a group of lads that you trust and that you have that. I genuinely believe this, but obviously because I'm a guy, I've never been a girl, but like I genuinely believe that we have this beautiful camaraderie around each other that I love being a guy. I absolutely love it. And I love being surrounded by my best guy mates. And, you know, I love my girlfriend to the end of the world. She's like the most important thing in my life, as is my sister, as is my mum, as is all the girls in my life. But like there is something about guy friends that like I absolutely adore. I don't know what it's like. Same thing with team sports, but I love playing team sports. I don't know what it is. Like it's the intangibles.
Yeah.
No idea what it is.
Yeah, it's that like group flow you have, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
you're suddenly all part of a bigger whole. And I think maybe for guys, and potentially it's true for women as well. Like you, I can't speak for them, but that thing of you can actually be a different version of yourself.
Yeah.
It allows you to be a different version of yourself, and maybe that's more or less vulnerable. Maybe that's expressing things in a different way. And I know there's ways I would express feelings to my male friends
differently to what you maybe to your wife or your girlfriend.
Which maybe feels a little bit more uncomfortable to do it that way, because perhaps I'd have to be more serious, like we were speaking about earlier. You know, when you're with your guy friends, there's that element of like piss taking that goes on, and so much comes out during that, right? So much comes out. Like, I think that's an incredibly healthy mechanism we have to be able to start taking a piss out of each other and it turn into
something exactly
helpful.
And do you know what, people always like laugh about the term banter, right? And I understand why, because I just banter, but I love it. And there's this thing you get with your pals when you're sat around. I had it in the jungle. You sat around the fire, and there's just that, I can't state it enough, that energy, that camaraderie that I think, especially in this day and age, we know that the male suicide rate's through the roof, mate. And it's not going down either. And I think, especially in this day and age, there is such a necessity for guys sticking together and guy pals and that energy. I swear by it, mate.
Yeah, what a beautiful place to end an interview for men's health, and I think that is such an important, like guys have guy pals.
Yeah, mate, it's unbelievable. But also, like,
start a boy gang.
Mate, even comes to the gym, dude. Like, I'm not the Mo Jack, dude. I'm not like 7 foot tall. Like, you know, when you sometimes see bodybuilders and like, wow, you're enormous. Like the mountain from Game of Thrones. But like, I love coming to the gym just to be with the guys, or like, I love, you know, doing things that are almost stereotypical. I don't care. Like, I like it, and I don't think anyone should feel ashamed for it, because, you know, if it's a beautiful thing, mate. It really, really is. And I meant this when I said it before. I'm gonna finish if I said it before. I meant it a couple of hours ago after we finished the shoot, and I mean it again today. It's an absolute honour being here. I never thought I'd ever be invited to do anything men's health, and the fact that I'm here is absolutely so cool. It's like a bucket list thing. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. I think you are an important voice in this space, mate. So
thanks,
it's
dude.
our pleasure.
Mate, come on. Anytime you want me back, I'll be there. And I'll be bigger legs that time as well.
Yeah, well, leg day here and Nando's after.
Nando's after, and we'll do a marathon and 100 muscle ups.
Thanks so much, dude.
Mate,
Cheers.
what a legend. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.